So we've gone over the issues, and I've covered Ferguson since it happened. I've been on the grounds almost every day doing a story related to Ferguson, and I've truly heard the same comments, the same ideas over and over and over again. We're doing a lot of talking, but we're not really walking yet. We're trying, but we're not really picking up speed or momentum. So how do you view the approach that people are taking right now in honor of Michael Brown's death? Are we doing it right, or is there a way we could tweak this and make more of an effective change now instead of continue to gear up for it in hopes it'll happen?
Well, I want to commend all of the people who've been out there on the front lines of Ferguson, doing what they think is best. We don't all have to agree. And with the highly emotional tragedy behind that, you're going to get a variety of different appeals, approaches, strategies, etc. With the kind of international press that we had, it went all over the world. And so I really commend all of the people, even the people that don't quite know exactly what the next steps are. I am glad that they got up off their butts and made their voices heard and made their actions heard, and now you got a conversation that has gone national, international, that is causing the political leadership, the civic leadership, and the corporate leadership in St. Louis to say, hey, we need to try to find some way out of this situation. Had those voices not rose up from the most angriest voice to the most moderate voice, had that not happened, we would still be business as usual.
I agree.
Well, I agree. We are the underserved population is no longer invisible. That's how I put it. See, to a lot of folks, we were invisible. Every once in a while they hear something on the news about some murders, but they really didn't see us. They didn't have to feel us. They didn't have to deal with us. They didn't have to deal with our issues. We were invisible. Well, now we're no longer invisible. The question is that now that they see you, now that you have their attention, I think that's now the time for the best within us to come out, whether it's protesting or being activists, or whether it's being a service provider, or whether it's being an advocate for change. I think that's when the best of what it is that we do has to come out. And I'm just not sure that all of that is happening yet. I think it will. I'm just not sure it is. The only thing that gets to me, Malik, about the discussion about Ferguson is that, people always, I keep hearing this thing about this is the young folks thing. It's time for the young folks to lead. This is the young folks. And I said, and they refer back to the civil rights movement. And I have to remind them, I say, wait a minute. Martin Luther King was a young man, but he had a PhD, he was educated, he was brilliant. I said, Malcolm X was a young adult, but he was homeschooled in prison. He became very learned and very educated. I said, and John Lewis and Robert Young, Ambassador Young. I said, and those were the folks leading the movement, but the followers were not young people, other than Snick. The followers was the adults, was the middle income, and the other folks. Those guys were the followers, and those were the people who were on the front line that were bitten by the dogs and beaten and locked up. I said, don't get me wrong. I said, so unless we got some young people who or they are the best that we have to offer that are stepping up and strategically taking lead. It ain't a simple thing about age. So when people say young folks, I say I don't have a problem with that. But it needs to be the best of the young that we had if we're going to be successful.
Well, you know, I take a different view on that. One of the things that I saw in Ferguson is a lot of young people, and it was positive. In fact, it was the first time that I have seen young people step up. You know, I was in the civil rights movement, and what was nice about it is that I got involved at 12 and 13 years old. And, you know, that whole maturation process helped me to understand political organization, social organization, economic forces, etc. A lot of it initially was in protest formation, the war in Vietnam, fighting the slum landlords and all that kind of stuff. So part of it is that you're dealing with a young person that knows it all. And you're right, needs the guidance of older people, because older people have the stability, has the knowledge, has the experience. But young people have that fire that's necessary in order to move things forward. But at some point, you have to then start training young people. The great thing about what happened during the civil rights movement was the NAACP and the Urban League and SNCC and CORE, they were committed to training young people in organizing tactics, mobilization, voter registration, voter education, literacy training. They were committed to doing that. We now have to have some older people that say, listen, I will mentor this young person. I love his fire. I love her fire. But I need to do some mentoring so that they understand what exactly they are up against. You know?
That was actually going to be my next question, geared towards the youth. Since they're on the front lines, they have so much energy, and they are the heartbeat of this movement right now, pushing it forward. How do we include them responsibly and effectively? Those are great points.
I'll tell you why I raised this as a concern. I was at a meeting at one of the churches, and a young mother says, y'all don't get it. My son is out there every day, and he's willing to die. He's going to die about this and this and that. And I listened to her, and I want to say to her, listen, if it takes your son dying, then there's a good chance we may lose. Because this is a fight we can win while anybody else dying. As long as we move strategically, in unison, and we use our forces. I say because do not underestimate the heinous possibility of this country's military might. Do not underestimate it. It is a, you know, we have to remember, we have Aryan nations and all sort of people in backwoods camps. They practice guerrilla warfare and all the time, and they want to do what these guys are doing, and they can't do it because of the military might of this country. And so you're not going to do it either, not anytime soon. And I don't need to lose you to win this fight. We lost Mike Brown. With the stuff you're doing now, when you do it the right way, we can win this fight. I don't have to lose another life to win this fight if we can get them focused and moving in the direction we need them to. So that's why I wanted to tell her, we don't need to lose another time.
What kind of approach do we take, gentlemen? Do we take MLK's approach peacefully? Or do we take a more aggressive approach? I don't think that question has been asked yet because we're still out there attempting a little bit of everything to see what's working. But coming from the civil rights era and having a mixture of both, what's the best approach for the best outcome?
I think that the approach has to be an all options included approach. You know, the approach has to be suitable to the circumstances.
Yes.
I thought it was very important for the people in Ferguson who were on the front lines in the evening time to challenge the constitutionality of their rights to demonstrate. I thought it was good that they challenged the militarization of the police force, to say that this is not right, that this is cause for Amnesty International to come in to see if people's basic human rights are violated. So I thought it was courageous of those young people to challenge that. Now, and I think what Adolphus is saying, what we have to do is take that energy and mold it. And sometimes it's difficult to mold that kind of real heated emotional energy, but that we don't want to tell them to get molded down by machine guns and other kind of militaristic weaponry in order to make a point. That you've made the point, now back up, strategize, educate yourself, understand the forces that's arrayed against you, understand the forces that's with you, and begin to balance that. You have to have a sober mind in order to do that. If you don't, a lot of people can be innocently killed, and we can't get them back. But so in terms of what is needed, we got to have a lot of patience with our young people, because again, we've been so disconnected over the years that, as I said, some of them, if they see you with a suit on, they automatically write you off as irrelevant. So we've got to bring this back together. People with know-how, people with skills and talent, people with connections, with the passion of those young brothers and sisters on the street. That we've got to reconnect that. And the other thing that Ferguson showed was that there's a lot of folks that just weren't from the street. They were from college campuses. Washington University, Forest Park Community College, Howard, St. Louis University, Webster Grove. I was so happy to see that element mingle with brothers and sisters on the street. Because I think that once you have that coming together, whatever that synthesis is will be useful, because you have brain power on one hand to heart and courage on the other. Anytime those two elements wet and marry, you have energy that could be so positive, that could redirect a lot of the negative things that's taking place and turn them into some very useful things. So voter registration would be one such thing. Community organizing skill and mobilization skills would be another thing. Conflict mediation would be another skill, especially if we can turn a Martin Luther King nonviolence approach as an internal response to black-on-black crime, black-on-black murder. So I think that we have, those of us who are adults, we have a gross responsibility, a humongous responsibility to reach out to this young group and bring them into our midst and mentor them to the extent that they can mentor, that we can mentor them, and maybe they can give us courage, because a lot of us, we have gotten so institutionalized, we have lost a lot of our own courage to confront powers, to speak truth to powers. And that's why I appreciate Adolphus, because he speaks truth to powers. That has to be something that we do. When we have those young people agitating like that, they will give us courage to say what we know what we need to say without thinking about if our funding is going to be cut, these relationships are going to be lost, etc. So I'm saying to young people, right on, continue to be out there, because you're giving me the fire that I need to continue to go forward.
You know, I never forget when we was at Harris Stowe, and I had the students from Howard and the students from Harris Stowe, and they were sitting there saying, how do we move forward? And what they had said is that they've been meeting with conference calls. The head of all of the black student unions from all the HBCUs been having conference calls. And they're working on coming up with a communication that they're going to send to corporate America and say, hey, if you all don't step up and use your power to influence Washington and influence everybody on the policy issues we need, we're going to start boycotting your products.